What's up and welcome to another episode of Gizmo Slip. Today we're talking about the iPhone 12 versus the 12 Pro. I have both of these phones in hand. I've actually had them in my hand and my SIM card in one of these phones for the last 10 days or so. And today I'm going to explain why I think the iPhone 12 is the much better choice overall when compared to the iPhone 12 Pro. So if you're on the fence between these two phones, this is going to be a detailed breakdown of the similarities and differences, and you'll get to decide for yourself whether or not those differences are worth the increased cost. So first up, how much of a difference are we talking about between these two phones? The iPhone 12 comes in at $799 for a 64 gig version, but you have to keep in mind that is only with a carrier deal. You'll pay $829 full price if you get the unlocked version. Now with the iPhone 12 Pro, you get 128 gigs at $999. So at both base prices, assuming you're getting the carrier version, it's a $200 difference in price. Now, if you go up to the 128 gig version versus 128 gig version, it's a $150 difference for the same exact storage. So that means the iPhone 12 has a cheaper bottom end at 64 gigs, while the iPhone 12 Pro can go all the way up to 512 gigs. So there's one potential reason why you might want to pick one over the other. If you're someone who really wants lots and lots of storage, the iPhone 12 Pro has a higher potential storage cap, though 256 gigs of storage is quite a lot in my opinion. Anyway, I think the primary people that will want a high storage iPhone are going to be the people that either want to store lots of files like music files on their phone, or perhaps record lots of videos that take up a lot of space. But for the vast majority of users, 64 or 128 gigs should do the trick. So the question becomes, is this $200 gap in price worth it? How many extra features are you getting with the iPhone 12 Pro versus the iPhone 12? I think that is the key question to talk about. So let's dive into some of the similarities first. So when I had these two phones, I'd have them on my desk there, and I'd pick it up and I'd start using it, and I wouldn't even realize whether I was using the iPhone 12 or the 12 Pro most of the time. The only time I'd notice is when I got to see the side as I picked it up, or when I was using the camera app, but we're gonna get into the camera differences here in a little bit. But that was something that was really interesting to me, because this is the first time that the iPhone 12 versus the 12 Pro has been essentially the exact same phone in almost every respect, aside from a handful of differences. Now, Apple rates the iPhone 12 Pro for 800 nits of brightness versus the iPhone 12 625 nits of brightness. Now, I measured the iPhone 12 Pro's brightness at 492 nits with my Spider 5 Elite, while my iPhone 12 registered at 487 nits. So that is such a small difference that it's likely the exact same screen on both of these devices. So in terms of practical, usable brightness, as far as I can tell, there's literally no difference. Same resolution, same brightness, same color gamut, the same display. I don't know why Apple rates the iPhone 12 Pro's display higher when I don't think it really deserves that higher rating. Now, the iPhone 12 has more color options. We got 5 total different colors. We have the black, white, project red, green, and blue. The iPhone 12 Pro comes in silver, graphite, gold, or Pacific blue. We have more, I think, classier, professional-ish looking colors, especially since we have the stainless steel sides. And I gotta say, I do like the way the iPhone 12 Pro looks a little bit better overall, especially between these two in particular, but it's such a minor difference, especially if you're going to put a case on your phone. Now, both of these phones have the same Face ID and ugly notch as well, so you're not getting a difference there. They both are 60 Hertz displays, so you're not getting an increased refresh rate between the two, which was one of the key features that people were predicting the iPhone 12 Pro would have, but it doesn't. And of course, both of these phones are rocking the A14 Bionic, which is arguably the fastest smartphone chip in any smartphone. Both phones also feature the same MagSafe accessories and magnetic charging through wireless charging on the back. I really like this feature, and I can't wait to get my magnetic charger in the mail. It's coming one of these days soon. I also ordered one of the wallets, but I haven't, again, got to try it out yet, but I'm assuming it's gonna be fantastic from everything else that I have read about it. Both the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro utilize the ceramic shield front glass protection, which I did test out in my drop test. If you'd like to check check out my iPhone 12 drop test, I'll have a link in the description or a link at the end of this video. So if you want to see how much more durable that ceramic shield is, I think that drop test is a pretty good example of the increased durability. Both phones also feature the IP68 water and dust resistance. According to Apple, they have tested this at 6 meters of depth inside of water for up to 30 minutes, and that is really impressive water resistance. Both the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro have had exceptionally good battery life in my own usage. I have not had any problems at all, basically, in terms of battery life. I've had the iPhone 12 go through 3 days of moderate to light use, depending on which day it was. I mean, if you're a pretty casual user, I would expect 2 to 3 days of charge on one of these phones. Now, of course, if you're a heavier user, you may be able to kill it in 1 day, especially if you play a lot of video games. But if you primarily use it for lighter tasks like email, web browsing, and video watching, you should be able to get through about 1.5 days of heavy usage on this device, and that is really, really impressive to me. Now, let's talk about the camera setup on the back of these two phones. We have 3 cameras on the back of the iPhone 12 Pro, as well as a LiDAR scanner. Now, another difference is that the 12 Pro is going to feature Apple's Pro RAW. This will be a software update that will be available only to the Pro users, the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. Now, this is going to add some additional post-processing flexibility to pull out all the details you want from your photos. Now, as far as I can tell, the wide and ultra-wide cameras are identical between the 12 and 12 Pro. But the iPhone 12 Pro Max does have an improved wide-angle camera as well as an improved telephoto compared to the iPhone 12 Pro. So I mean, if you're really trying to push for the best possible camera in an iPhone, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is the phone to get this year. You're paying for an upgrade to the iPhone 12 Pro, but it feels like you're not really getting that much of an upgrade, because I find myself taking about 97% of my photos with just the regular wide cameras. For me, the fact that we don't have a dramatic upgrade in camera quality between these two makes the iPhone 12 that much more attractive in my book. Now, of course, the iPhone 12 Pro is a more versatile camera setup. The telephoto zoom does provide optical zoom, meaning you don't lose detail when you zoom in, at least on the 2x zoom. Now, of course, both of these can do a digital crop, so if you don't care about having as much detail, the iPhone 12 can still technically do a zoom. Now, the LiDAR scanner on the iPhone 12 Pro does allow for more precise portrait photos, as well as portrait photos in nighttime settings. The iPhone 12 relies on a good amount of light so that the portrait distance can be calculated with the difference between these two cameras. So if you're someone who's always taking nighttime portraits, hey, small feature that you might use some of the time. Now, I did go ahead and test some night portrait shots, and surprisingly, the iPhone 12 did do the blurred background mode even when there was very, very little light in the room. That said, I think the edge detection of the iPhone 12 Pro was a little bit better with less bleeding around the edges of Darren's face. Let me know in the comments down below whether you think the iPhone 12 Pro's camera improvements are actually worth it, or if you really want to have a camera upgrade, you should really be upgrading to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is kind of the way that I'm leaning right now. In conclusion, the iPhone 12 comes in at $200 less, comes in with almost all of the primary features of the iPhone 12 Pro, which to me makes it the far better choice for the vast majority of people. Now, if some of the specific features like a telephoto camera or nighttime portraits really stand out to you, or perhaps you just love the way the iPhone 12 Pro looks with the stainless steel finish, then perhaps the iPhone 12 Pro will be worth that increased cost. But for most people on a budget, the iPhone 12 is certainly the better choice in my opinion. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, if you enjoyed this smartphone comparison, be sure to smash that like button. And if you want to see more smartphone related videos, including the drop tests that I regularly do on newly released phones, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. I will see you in the next one. Brandon out. Huzzah.